Good
Hello,
afternoon.
Professor.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay.
Hello.
I said recording in
Hi.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I have a question. Do you check my essay? Not essay, in handwriting. We say handwriting or essay.
You mean the narrative, the first big project? No, I don't.
Yes.
Grades aren't done.
You didn't.
Nope, not yet.
Mhm.
I have a question, Jeff.
Mhm.
I couldn't open the video, the YouTube last week you sent it for us. I couldn't find it. But last week I saw when you posted, but yesterday and today I tried to open it and try to see. I couldn't find it. Is
Huh.
this? Yeah.
Let me see here.
Hello, Professor.
Hey everybody, Afazia. I see a bunch of people coming in too. Sadaf and Mahmoba, hi you guys. Let's see if there's something I need to fix in Canvas here. So I put the link in two places. One is in the announcement. I just went to the lesson, the assignment in Canvas. So that's different than the announcement. Sadaf says hi. Hey everybody.
Oh, that's the one. I couldn't open. I try.
It's okay. I mean, whatever. As the most important thing is that you can look at this. Is that you can look at this eventually, right? I don't know. We'll talk about this more when we do our warm up activity, but I don't have plans for a lot of more lessons before spring break. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I need spring break very badly. I'm so tired, and it's so much Zoom and it's so much grading. So I'm not too worried about. So I want you guys to do this lesson. Paraphrasing is going to be really important after spring break when we start with hyperfocus. But as long as you can look at it now, I'm not, I don't want you guys to feel like you're behind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I saw it several times, that video. I found in an email.
Yeah.
And it's a little scary because we don't have vocabulary to to write. And again, now more sometimes I did with bad bad paraphrasing something. The lady talked bad and good. Just I know bad bad way.
That's honestly, to begin with, starting, I love that video for that exact reason, right? I think so many students, when they start to practice paraphrasing, they do that, right? They're just like, well, I'm just going to find a synonym. And it's such a waste of your time. And it's a waste of my time too. But I think so, and we'll talk more about this. I have a warm up and stuff for when everyone's here, but listen, Paraphrasing is so hard, you guys. It's so hard for students to do. It's really hard for me to teach. Like I feel like a pretty good teacher. I feel like I'm really good at teaching things that I know how to do. I'm a pretty good paraphraser. But even trying to teach native English speakers how to paraphrase, it's really hard. So again, I try to make life better by not giving a bunch of tests or quizzes that stress you guys out. Like I'll show you what paraphrasing is and then I'll test you on it and you have to be perfect. This is going to take time, right? But I think for some skills that are really hard, starting with an example of what not to do can be very helpful. Like I said, because then you don't waste your time. Then you're not, you know, but it's hard. It's really hard.
معلمان ببینی
And what you'll hear me say today is, if you start to think about paraphrasing as a way to help you become a better reader, then that's going to be very important, right? Because as you saw in the video, as we'll talk about today, if you don't understand the main idea of the reading or of what you are paraphrasing, it is impossible to write a good paraphrase, right? Like the whole point of a paraphrase is same meaning, different words. So if you're going to write the same meaning, you got to know what you read. You know what I mean? And that's the hard part. I always have a joke with my other professors, and I see a lot of other people came in. Reina's here, and Mir's here, and Sabzina's here. Hi, you guys. I always joke with other. Hey, Mir. Hey, Abdi. That I'm going to mute you. I can hear my own echo. You know, some teachers are obsessed with plagiarism, right? With, oh my God, my students are just copying and pasting sentences and okay, whatever. I understand. But I always joke with other teachers. Hi, Nasima says hi. People in the chat. Hi, Samira. Hi, Nasima. I always joke, you know what? If students are going to copy and paste things from an article, that's honestly, I don't even care. The thing that makes me the most mad is when they copy and paste a sentence that has nothing to do with the main idea. Like it's like they didn't even read the article. They're just like, I'm just going to copy either everything. I'm going to copy the whole article, or they're just looking at the article like, I'm just going to copy these two sentences. Like that drives me nuts. Like if you're going to copy and just plagiarize whatever, you know, quote something but not cite it, then copy the best sentence. You know what I mean? Copy the main idea, copy the thesis of the article. And that's what I mean about paraphrasing and reading and as a reading skill. And I think that's a different way for a lot of students to think about paraphrasing. It's definitely a different way for teachers to talk about paraphrasing, because I think a lot of English teachers just say paraphrasing is say the same thing but different words, say the same thing, different words. Okay, but like, how do you do it's really hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. And even for native speakers who don't have to worry as much about vocabulary, you know. Anyway, let's see who else is here. It's 12:18. Some of you will wait another minute or two, just saying hi to the people I didn't say hi to. I know Malele, you came in early. Hi. And I can see your video, so I feel like I say, when I see people's videos, I'm like, I feel like I forget to say hi sometimes, because I'm like, oh, I can see you, you can see me. Oh, how are you guys? Good.
Good. Wonderful.
Oh, wonderful. You need to teach me. I like wonderful. That sounds.
Yes, I'm wonderful.
My kids' school going to be open soon,
Hey.
and I'm very happy.
Good. Yeah, good. I know we talked about it a little bit 2 weeks ago. I know, but for the people who, you know, feel like it's a good idea and feel like it's safe, I think it's really great. I feel like it's really great. Yeah, things are getting better, aren't they? I feel optimistic a little bit.
Yes, the whole staff, they were so happy. Because now that I went to pick up the kids, they're just like, are you excited? I'm just like, and I totally forgot, like, what are they talking about? I'm just like, yeah, I'm excited. And then during the conversation, I start like, it kind of start making a sense. Like they're excited that the whole school is going to be open. I'm just like, yes,
Love it.
now I get it. It was so funny, but yeah, we are so happy. And then the kids are happy, and then the parents are happy. Like apparently everyone is happy.
That's great.
That's good.
Okay, this one.
That's great. That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, amazing thing.
Meanwhile, colleges, I won't see you. We won't be in person.
I know, but that's so weird. Especially for fall. I heard that the fall is going to be like online as well. I'm not sure, and it is ridiculous.
Yeah, all ESL classes, everything in the humanities. So that means, I mean, everything in our division. ESL is a part of the humanities division. So that's foreign languages and ASL, so sign language and deaf culture, history, philosophy, sociology. No, sociology is a social science now, but none of those classes will be in person in the fall. So
It is terrible. I don't think it's going to be in person as well, and which is making me pretty anxious.
yeah, I can tell you right now, if you guys don't know, if you're watching, no ESL classes will be in person.
Yeah, it's
Zero.
crazy.
Some
Excuse me?
athletics classes and some science and lab classes and some of the music, like music and performing arts and stuff. No humanities classes will be in person.
How about the ESL lab?
None.
I don't think so, Rafi. I don't think so. Sanda is Professor Valku is going to be the new chair, or she's going to be running the ESL lab, and she is very interested in getting people back on campus. But it's all about, the president and of the school. You know what I mean? Like these decisions are coming really high up with people with way more power. So it's
So you
possible.
guys
The short
don't do
answer is
service like a teacher, like a service. You guys don't do like meetings like that. Kind of raise your voice up, or like the teachers, they also don't want it to be in person.
that's such an interesting. That's a whole. I mean, we could have a whole
Yeah.
discussion about that. So I can just tell you from the people I know, my friends at the school, some teachers are desperate to get back and they would go back tomorrow. Some teachers are afraid and say they never want to go back. So there's a huge, you know what I mean? Like there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be up to the teachers, is the truth, really. I promise you. It's going to be someone, there will come a time for those teachers who never want to come back. The school will say, okay, come back or get a new job. So but when will that be? Susanna, will that be this next spring? Will that be 1 year from now, 2021? Even later? I don't know. I don't know.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what enrollment will look like in the fall.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, like there is a lot of like workplaces, they are kind of making mandatory the shots so they can go back to opening.
Right.
It might be, one of the cases, probably.
Yep.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think, what would I say? So for your kids and for like when people get the vaccine, like for seeing your family and your friends, I think life is going to get much better really soon. But what happens at the college? Oh my God. I think it's going to be a long time. If I'm honest with you guys, I think it's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a long time because they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. That's why I say that, because every time I ask someone, I get a different answer. No one knows. No one has a plan. So yeah, I'm not saying this to be to make you guys feel bad. Just I think it's good for you guys to know so you can make choices about what you want to do and when you want to study and all that stuff.
It's very important, especially for me, for my experience, because I'm a hands-on person, I like to be there and I like to experience. I hate sitting like back of the computer and
Oh,
like a robot. Like, no, I do it. It's not like I don't do it, but I don't feel like I'm getting the most out of it.
No.
And it's crazy.
Yeah, my metaphor, I'm feeling so bad now. Oh, Sadaf, I'm so sorry. Yeah, again, I'm not saying this to make you guys feel bad, but if no one has told you this or you don't know, it's really important for you to know. Yeah, ESL lab, possible that there will be some services, some things in person in the lab in the fall, but there will be 0 ESL classes like our class, 325, 0 in the fall. So I will not be teaching in a classroom for all of 2021. That is official. So that's question 2. Are we going back? Are we going in person? No, we are not. And like I
think
said,
it's safe to stay home because we're adults. Yeah.
yeah, and like I said, everyone's going to feel different about this. I want you guys to understand, right? Like my opinion is just that. It's just my opinion. And no matter what, you know, when we do go back, if you're one of the people who likes this in class and or likes to do things online, it's more convenient. I totally understand that. And I think even when things come back, I think, I don't know, but my prediction would be you will have the choice, right? There will be some things in person and some things online. Even whether that's next spring in 1 year or later, I don't know. So I'm not, you know, if you love the online classes, that is beautiful. I'm not disagreeing in any way. I think, you know what I mean? But I think for people who do want to go back or do feel like it's safe, excuse me, I think it's important that you guys know, you know, what's going on, at least for this year, right? At least for this year. So that's what I know. That's what I know. And my metaphor that I always use for this, what we're doing now is, okay, so my metaphor is, oh, hold on, there's a chat and then we'll get started for today. I like it because I have kids. Yeah, for people with kids and people who, if people don't work, right? I mean, like if people are at home, if people don't work for money, right? Taking care of kids and cooking and cleaning is a lot of work. But if people don't have to leave the house, you know, online can be great. Absolutely, absolutely. But my metaphor that I always use, because I do think there is a difference, is, you know, you can watch a YouTube video of someone teaching you how to make a fire, right? Like, let's say you're outside camping and you want to make a fire. You can watch a YouTube video of a person teaching you how to make a fire, and then you can go make your own fire, right? But online, you will never feel the heat from the teacher's fire. You don't actually feel that fire. It's not real, right? It's not a real fire. And that's the thing that I think is, that's the difference, right? And I'm not saying one is better than the other one. I know I prefer one. I'm not saying one's better than the other. That's what I'm saying. Rafi says, how about hybrid class? Possible. You know, I'll just share again, what they're concerned about is that Davies Hall, where all of the ESL classes are for the most part, is like a COVID nightmare. The windows don't open, the rooms are really small, the air condition, the ventilation system is really terrible. It's like a building from the 1950s, you know, like everything that they say to make indoor stuff safe is really hard to do in Davies. And I think that's one reason that, you know, you're going to see classes come back in that brand new, beautiful science building. You know what I mean? Like they can make it safe. But Davies, we've got the oldest building on campus. You know what I mean? So maybe some hybrid, Rafi, I don't know. Maybe they'll do, you know, 1 day a week. I don't know. But that's what I mean. Like they don't know. The reason I don't know that, Rafi, is because they have no idea. They don't know. I'm not trying to make you guys sad. I promise. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. I feel like I want to say a metaphor, another idiom. Do you guys know this idiom here? I have a lesson for today. I really do. Do you guys know this idiom? This went off the tracks. Do you guys know this? What this means? I'll show you where it comes from. It it comes literally from the tracks, like the tracks here, like train tracks. So when you talk about a train coming off the tracks, you know, I don't want to show horrifying pictures, right? But it's not good. It means the train's going along, then it comes off the track. It's hard, no more movement, right? So if you say the things, you know, this went off the tracks, it kind of means like, oh, okay. I didn't mean to make you all sad or talk about or talk about COVID stuff. But anyway, there's my little idiom lesson based on this this warm up. So anyway, that's it. Very short version. In the fall, everything's online. So plan your choices, plan your classes, plan your life accordingly. You know what I mean? You deserve to know so that you can make the choice that's best for your life. That's my 100% opinion, right? However we feel about online classes, you deserve to know so you can make choices. Cool. All right. Well, it's good to see you all again.
I have a question.
Yeah, Mir.
So you said that fall classes online, right?
Correct.
So if we go outside the United States, so can we continue our lessons there or what?
Yeah.
Okay. All
The
right. Thank you.
short answer is yeah. I mean, as long, you know, all the classes will be on California time, but you know, if you're I don't know what I was going to say. If you're in Japan, you know, taking ESL class at 3 in the morning, that's totally fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, I think. You just need to make sure you have a US address so that they know you're a California resident, because I know for students who aren't California residents yet, or if people just immigrated, they'll charge international student tuition. So, but as long as you've got a California address, friend, family, or whatever, or maybe you're just visiting somewhere for a few months, that's totally fine. Yeah, that's totally fine.
Right. Thank you, Professor.
Maybe I'll go to Japan too. I'll move to Japan to teach you guys. Japan's a little expensive, actually. I might choose somewhere a little less expensive. All right. Any other questions? It's good, actually. Any other questions about the fall without getting too sad or bummed out? Any other questions I can answer? All right. If you do, I'm sure by the end of the semester, of course, students always want to know what class should I take in the spring. So we'll talk much more, or next fall, excuse me, we're in the spring now. So we'll talk, I'm sure we'll talk much more about the summer and the fall as we get closer to the end of the semester. After spring break, oh, we're almost there. All right, it is Thursday, March 11th. It is really nice to see you all. I hope, as I said in my email, I'm sure you are all so sad to miss class. I know students are always cry when class gets canceled. Oh no, what are we gonna do?
I was waiting. I didn't even check the notifications, and I was like, is it like he's not like letting me like in or what? Like, and that's why I just like right away.
No problem. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, anyway. Well, it's nice to see you after taking a week off. And like I said in my email, I hope whatever you did, right? Whatever you did, if you spent time on this class or another class or just time to relax, I hope that you could use that time in the way that was best for all of you. So here's our agenda for today. Oh, and for people who just came in or weren't here at the beginning, I know some students might have had trouble with the YouTube video or the YouTube links. But again, I just wanted to show you guys, we'll get rid of these depressing pictures here. So I included the links to the paraphrasing YouTube videos in the announcement, but you can also find them if you go here to assignments. If you looked at that lesson 12, there were links to lesson 12 to watch those videos. And it does, at least right now, it looks like those links are working. Okay, so if you didn't watch them yet, that is all good. If you did, that's great. You're going to be really ready to talk about paraphrasing today, but I did just want to say if some people were having problems opening the links or the videos from the announcement, the links in the assignment page are working. Okay. So here's what we're doing today. We are going to do a warm-up activity. I want you guys to be able to talk to each other instead of just listening to me talk about the fall semester. And today we're going to talk about paraphrasing, right? We've got 2 weeks before spring break. And really, we're going to introduce this idea about paraphrasing so that when we get back, We are ready to start reading Hyperfocus. We're ready to start doing some writing that is a little more, getting us closer to sort of research writing and the type of writing that you do in English 300 or in ESL W340. So that is the plan for today. Here is our warm up though. So I'm going to put you in groups and give you 5 or 10 minutes, just like usual. Instead of talking just about paraphrasing, which we're going to do a lot, I just want you to talk about how you are feeling as a human being. Okay. So the warm up question is, we're now exactly halfway through the semester. This is week 8. And my question is just, how are you feeling? How are you feeling in general? How are you feeling about your other classes? How are you feeling about this class? And then as you think about this class, is there something specific you want to learn more about? Something that we already started to do, or something we introduced, or anything from the list that we made on the first week, right? Is there anything else you want to make sure that we spend more time on? And then of course, anything else that you want to talk about while you're in your small group is great too. So write the questions down, take a photo so you remember them, whatever you need to do. I will also send these out when you're in your groups, just like usual. But before we go into the small groups, any question? I didn't think so. You know how this goes. We've done it enough now. So let me open the breakout rooms and then I'll let you guys talk to each other a little bit. I'm gonna do 4 people in a room. All right, I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Rooms are open now. Good timing. We're coming back right now.
Sorry.
No, the perfect timing. The rooms are closing right now.
In progress. Recording in progress.
That was cool. That sounded like a special sound effects or something. All right, welcome back. Two more groups just finishing up, so they'll be back in a second when the rooms close. Well, 4 seconds. All right.
You're funny.
Someone was having fun. I don't know what is going on.
Okay, I will give her my phone number. Is that okay?
Ooh, Layla, and you, Layla? Yeah, of course. Private chat. Just do it. I know students are always.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
do-
yeah. I
Send a
was
private.
Laila, her name?
Well, right now it'll show up as Jeremiah.
Yes, Layla.
Yeah.
Leila.
But if she goes to send you a message in the chat, she has to
My
choose the name in Canvas. So it shows the name that is your display name right now. Does that make sense?
Yes, now she has my number. She can send the message.
Easy, really.
Oh,
easy.
yeah, yes. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Just do what all the other students do. Just text each other while you're in class.
Okay, yeah.
Instead of watching the Zoom. Just do that. I mean, just do what everybody else does. I'm glad we've got people making friends. That is fantastic. I'd love this. If anybody wants to talk, you don't have to. But if anybody wants to talk and share anything about how you're feeling or just things you want to learn, anybody want to share anything they talked about? We've got a special guest.
I shared with a student, other friend. I like this class because we don't have due date. The same. I wrote my. I'm handwriting. I write in the paper,
Yeah.
but I need time to do my put it in the driver.
Yeah.
And in the weekend, I'm very busy. I'm every day. I'm busy with 2 kids, especially my little one. But in the weekend, I'm totally busy. And sometimes I sit in the living room. I say, I give up. I say, oh, I give up. And my son, my oldest son, this is your choice. This is your doctorate.
This is your doctor? What?
Doctorate, yes, because one, I have 2 kids, 2 doctorate, they say. And
If I have 4.
before, I don't have any due date.
Yeah. Okay.
And you are kind. We don't have any SRS. Of course, I read the storybook. every day.
Yeah.
And I think almost I'm done with that book you shared with us.
So are we. Yeah, we're done with that book.
And but I think I need something to do again. I'm I need to do something more.
Oh, good. Well, remember that when we get back from break and you have to write the research paper, Layla. Don't worry. More idioms today. The calm before the storm. Yeah, the calm before the storm. I had to change I'll just share a little bit again, because I try to be honest with you guys always. Because spring break changed, right? They changed when we took spring break, when everything went online. I had to adjust my schedule. So that's why we finished the first big writing project. And these last 2 or 3 weeks, they're a little bit slowed down, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to get into the next big project and then we have spring break in the middle. And I know what happens in spring break is we all forget everything that we were doing and learning and thinking about. So that's why I tried to adjust it so that we'll do a little bit about paraphrasing and stuff before we start to talk about, you know, the writing structure of nonfiction academic writing, which we'll get to when we start to read Hyperfocus after the break. But even more important,
Did we get back the feedback or not yet?
no, I've not finished grading everybody's essay, and I don't publish grades in Canvas until I'm done with everybody's essay. So when everybody is done, then I will publish it in Canvas.
Okay.
I love, everybody has to, I love, good. Some students are like, take your time. Other students are like, I want my grade now.
No, I'm checking every day the Canvas.
Oh,
Feedback.
shut up.
Me
Okay,
too.
hurry up, Jeff.
And
Hurry.
also, I have a question, Professor, regarding the submitting the assignment.
Uh-huh.
I think it's 2 assignment I submit like probably like 30 minutes before, or 2 hour, 1 hours. Like still they show late, but I didn't know what happened, but
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. What would I say? It's not, how can I say this? Very often, almost never, I take points off for being late, because that's why, like I said, these writing assignments have due dates because I need them by a certain time to make sure that I have enough time to grade them, right? Again, it's my job. No one feel bad for me, but it takes a long time to grade 35 4-page essays. Do you know what I'm saying? So again, don't feel bad. That's my job. But that's the only reason that these have due dates, right? That's the only reason that these have due dates. So if you were an hour late or 2 hours late, I'm not too worried about it. And if I'm going to take points away from you for something being late, it won't be a surprise. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I will let you know. You won't get shocked when you see your grade.
Okay, I want to. I didn't write 1,200. It was really hard. Just I wrote 1,000.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
I tried to add, but I see, oh, it didn't match it. Go up and it doesn't match. I try, but I talk to myself, Leila, she's very nice.
Yeah, she is very nice. Yeah,
She's very nice. Sorry.
very nice, man. Yeah. No, and it's the same thing for words and for time and for things being late, right? Like if you, well, not if, but Angela, send it privately in the chat, Angela. If you I'm feeling really relaxed today, you guys. I don't feel very professional today. I feel we're just kind of like friends hanging out today. Yeah, so on the rubric, I say you get points for meeting the minimum word count. I give myself the option to take points away if something is too short, if I need to, right? But I won't take the points away just because I can, right? I'm glad that you feel like I'm a very kind person, especially when it comes to grading you guys. I said this, I said it 1,000 times. I'll keep saying it. Like, I don't care about the grades. I care about, did you learn something? So if a student gives me an essay that's 1,200 words, but it doesn't look like they made an effort or they copied and pasted and it doesn't look like they learned anything, they might get a B. But a student who only wrote 1,000 words, but they worked really hard and they asked me questions and we talked about it and it shows that they learned a lot, okay, they might get an A. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all, what can I say? Susanna, you already heard my fire metaphor. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's all I care about is if I can feel heat from your fire, even online, you're fine. You know what I mean? That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Professor, excuse me. If
Yeah.
we did like not on the, it's off the topic, like where I'm not sure about my essay. I think I did something else that you wants to me. So I wrote about my strategy, how I start learning the new language. It's not kind of like a specific event. It doesn't have. So I'm not sure it's correct or no. So
Well,
if I was like not complete right, you give me time or you just give me grade.
oh no, so you'll get your grades. So in my 350 class this week, they had their essay was due 1 week before yours. That's why I'm not done with yours. So what happens is you'll find out, I'll give you your grade and I'll give you some feedback, but really for students who love feedback, what I ask you to do is sign up to meet with me one-on-one so that we can talk for 15 or 20 minutes about your essay, what you can do to fix it, to revise it and resubmit for a higher score. So I will give you a grade, I will give you comments and feedback, but if you still are, and then you get a chance to revise and resubmit. But if you still, if you got a B and you really want an A, but you don't know how to fix it, or you still need more help, then I'll ask you guys to make appointments with me, because after we have class today, I've got, I think, six writing conferences with students from W350 because they want to talk about their essay and how to revise and resubmit. So once you get your grade for the first draft, if you want more work, if you want to work more on it and get a higher grade, absolutely. And probably the best thing to do is let's talk about it. If you're like, Jeff, I got a B, but I want an A and I don't know how to fix it, then we should talk.
This is me.
It's me. Well, we'll see. You don't know your grade yet. Maybe you get an A. You don't have to worry about it.
I don't think so.
Ay, Diosito Santo.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else about this, just about how you're feeling or anything about this class before we start to talk about paraphrasing, which is important, but much less interesting than this conversation we're having now. Anybody else?
Well, I have a question regarding like the narrative, which we write the essay narrative much easier than describe. Describe was so difficult. If you're gonna describe, and you have to come back track to what you're saying, stay in the steps. But I believe the narrative's more easier than describe.
I think you're right, Syed, because every language in the world, human beings love stories. We all tell stories every day. He did this, then she did this. Oh my God, I went to the grocery store and then this happened. We all do narratives every day in every language, right? But yes, I'm asking you to think about, okay, we all know how to tell a story, beginning, middle, and end. But when we are writing like this at a college level, yeah, you do need to use some descriptive language in that story, right? So if that was difficult, I would guess that's just because it's newer for you, telling stories, we all do that. It's like, as a way to transition here to paraphrasing, it's like the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing, right? And I'm going to start to project the slide here. I'm going to use that as my transition here. So I'm going to move this slide and start here. It's why for a lot of students, summarizing is so much easier because we all summarize every day in any language that we use, right? The other reason that summarizing is so easy for ESL students is even at the adult school level, if that's where you started, right? Or if you didn't start there, that's fine. Usually one of the first paragraphs we ever have ESL students write is write a summary paragraph, read this story and then write a summary about what it was about. So I think students, whether they have already practiced summarizing from another ESL class, or just because we do this in our daily life, we're more used to summarizing. And I may have already used this example, so forgive me, but I always use the example of if you tell your friend, again, any language, it doesn't matter, right? oh my God, I saw the best movie this weekend. It was so good. You should really see it. And then your friend says, okay, what happens? What's the movie about? You know, you can say, oh, there was this family and they lived in this castle and then they had this adventure and they went and what, but you know, you're going to summarize that movie, right? You're going to tell them in about a minute or two. You don't spend 90 minutes. It doesn't take you 90 minutes to say what happened in the movie, right? And this is summarizing. This is summarizing. We all do this in every single language, right? And this is different than paraphrasing. And I think it's one reason that paraphrasing is so much more difficult for students. And like I said, I promise it's difficult for native speakers too. Students who graduate from US high school have a really difficult time with this. So what's the difference? That's the place I like to start. So as you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, I guess that's this, on the right-hand side of your screen, I'm talking just about summarizing now. So summarizing, what is it, right? Like my example of telling your friend about the movie that you saw, right? A summary is all about explaining the main ideas of the text to the reader, right? A summary, as I said, is also shorter than the original text. And because a summary is only about the main idea, it's selective. And selective is just an adjective form of that word select, which means to choose. So if something is selective, it means that you chose, right? What to include and what not to include. And because a summary is shorter, that word condenses. Does anybody know the meaning of this word to condense? What's it mean?
Together.
Identify.
Close together.
Good.
Put together.
Nadia saying put together, that's very nice. I think put together is a little bit more clear than, Fatma, you're not wrong about identify. I think before you condense, you usually do have to identify, but you know what I'm gonna go to? Learn dictionary. Someone was in the chat said power thesaurus. We should go there. If it's really good, we can look at that too. Condense.
Okay, I have too many.
It's a verb, and you can see it in a lot of different ways, but condense means to make something shorter or smaller. And here's the most important part, by removing parts that are less important. And here are the example sentences. So the information is collected and then passed on to the CEO in condensed form, right? So 20 people work on a project, but before they give that project to the big boss, they're going to condense it only into the most important things, right? And then I'm going to go.
Professor, like something compressed.
Yeah, that's good. Condense and compress can be really similar. Absolutely. Let's go to power thesaurus and see what it says for condense. Maybe we'll get compress. This is good. Shorten, abridge, abbreviate, summarize. Hey, there it is. Mahoma, compress. Yeah, fantastic. That's right. Right. So when I say that a summary condenses, it's a way of saying it makes everything shorter. But there's also this important idea to understand. If you think about cooking, right? Like if you think about you have something in a pot. Let's say you're making soup. You have soup on the oven, right? On the stove, not on the oven, on the stove. Let's say you have the soup on the stove for 20 minutes. Okay, that's good. If you put it on the stove for an hour, maybe the flavor gets even deeper and richer. 2 hours, even deeper and richer, right? The liquid goes down in the pot, right? There's less water in the pot, but the flavor is condensed, right? It feels richer and more flavorful and it tastes even better. So it's not just that you are taking things away, right? It's that the information that you do present has more meaning. It feels more flavorful, like in the metaphor about the soup, right? So that's another important idea to think about for condense, right? It's not, it's what is left is richer, right? And that's that idea about the soup metaphor. Now, this is very different than paraphrasing, right? Paraphrasing is not condensing. Paraphrasing is not put the soup on the stove for 3 hours, okay? Paraphrasing, like you see on the other side of this slide, is all about re-saying all of the ideas in the text, but in your own words. Now, because you're not trying, you're expected, college professors expect you to include all of the information in your paraphrase. A paraphrase is about the same length as the original text, right? And this is really important. A paraphrase is always going to be longer than a summary. So if you're paraphrasing one page of a book or a story, your paraphrase will probably be about one page. A summary might only be a paragraph. A summary might only be half a page, right? And a paraphrase is also specific. So a summary is selective. You choose what to keep and what to take away. A paraphrase is specific, and it's specific because it includes everything, right? And finally, a paraphrase also clarify. So instead of condensing something, which means to make that soup richer, this is a totally different process. A paraphrase is a way for you to explain to a teacher or a friend or another classmate, hey, I understand the ideas that are in this story. I understand, and I can even tell you, idea for idea, each idea, what is in this, whatever, article or page or whatever. So this is the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing, right? And you can look at this in review, but if there's only two big takeaways here, well, three, I guess I have on this slide. Paraphrasing, here's my sort of short version of all this, my summary. This is the slide. This is my summary of that slide. Paraphrasing means same meaning, different words, right? So to paraphrase something, you got to understand it. And that's why, again, like Leila was saying, she's ready for the next big project. I agree. I think you are ready for the next big project. But at the beginning of the semester, we started slow to talk about reading strategies, right? Because I can't say this enough. Man, you have to understand what you're paraphrasing. If you don't know what the idea is in the thing that you're reading, it's really impossible to paraphrase. And we also paraphrase. When do we do this? We paraphrase when the exact wording of a quote is not important or the source material is too long to quote in full. And finally, you should use different words and honestly, I'm going to save this for let's talk about this next week because we're going to get to talk about paraphrasing a lot for the rest of the semester. I'd say these are the two most important things to remember, right? If you're going, oh my God, what's the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing? Paraphrasing means same meaning, different words. And therefore you should use different words and different sentence structure. This is kind of what that video, if you got to watch it, was saying. You can't just go to a thesaurus and replace one adjective with a different adjective because then you're not changing the sentence structure. You're just flipping vocabulary words, right? And that's not the same thing. And actually, I'm going to add one more thing just to emphasize here. So when I want to just repeat this again, when you hear summary, I want you to think short. When you hear paraphrase, I want you to think same length, right? A paraphrase is the same length. Does this make sense as my sort of basic introduction before we practice? Yes, I see a hand. Raheem, please.
Professor, I have a quick question. So summarize, as you tell us, it's very least than the paraphrase, and also the summarize is like highlight points of reading or something.
Yes.
So sometimes some highlight is important for me, but it is not important for you. When I try to like you give us an example about to summarize a movie. So some highlights is important for one person and the others, but the same highlight is not important like for me. So what is that?
Oh God, yeah. What is that? That's why for the people who are here early, again, I will tell you all honestly, this is a hard skill to practice, and it's a very hard skill to teach, if I can be honest, because everything you just said is true, Ibrahim, right? Like people will read things in different ways. People will focus on different parts of especially a story, a movie, a book, right? But when we get to hyper-focus, when we start to read nonfiction, right? If we can do it quickly enough, we might be able to start reading articles next week. This is something where there is kind of a right and wrong answer, right? And I say that because imagine reading a newspaper article, right? If someone wrote a newspaper article, the author of that article is hopefully trying to communicate something very clear and very specific to the reader, right? That article should have one main idea, right? It's not like a movie, right? In a movie, imagine like a Pixar movie or a Disney movie, right? There are lots of things that happen. And if you guys have kids, right? Maybe your son loves one part of the movie and your daughter loves a different part of the movie, right? That makes total sense when we're talking about fiction, right? Or even like when we read through A Map is Only One Story, when we're reading something that has really strong emotional connection, right? But as we change to nonfiction now, right? As we change to research reading and writing, hopefully, well, the book I chose is a good book, but hopefully the things that you're reading, the author has a clear and specific main idea. So in paraphrasing, this is why I say, the more I teach this, the more I honestly start to feel like paraphrasing and summarizing are almost even more reading skills than writing. You have to be able to write a sentence, and you have to be able to think about how you're writing when you write your summary. But you're right, Ibrahim. If you cannot identify the main idea in an article, your summary is not going to be good because you're not going to summarize that main idea, right? If you can't understand the meaning of the paragraph that you are paraphrasing, your paraphrasing won't be good because when you go to write, you don't even really know what you're trying to write. And so what is that? And how do we do that? Man, it's hard. And I think it just takes practice. I think it's just takes practice. And that's why, Layla, be careful what you wish for. When I give you lots of articles to read, what I'm going to keep asking you is, what's this about? What's the main idea? What's this about? How do you know? How do you know, right? Because unlike an ESL textbook, where every essay in an ESL textbook has introduction paragraph, hook at the first sentence, thesis statement at the last sentence of the first paragraph. That is not how a book is. That is not how a newspaper article is, right? So I think it just takes practice. It takes, hopefully, I'll just speak for myself in this class, me showing you a bunch of different things to read and then asking you, what's the main idea? Because when it comes to nonfiction, when it comes to academic reading and writing, hopefully, if the teacher has assigned it to you, the person who wrote it had a clear main idea, and hopefully you were able to understand that main idea when you read it. So that was my 2-minute long answer, but the short answer, Ibrahim, is practice. Is the unboring, not fun answer. Practice. And it's my job to give you that practice. You know what I mean?
Okay. How can I explain? That's hard for me too.
Tips or reading strategies?
No, I have another question. So how can we know how much is the good length for summarize?
It depends on the assignment and the class, right? Hopefully the answer to that is your teacher. If we're talking about school now, I assume we're talking about an assignment and a grade. Make your teacher for that class tell you, teacher, a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, a page, how long? Because to know that's really important, right? Now, like you said, what's good or not good in real life? If you're telling your friend what happened in the movie, there's no perfect answer for that. You know what I mean? Like is your friend, I have a friend, she's lovely and she's amazing, but she is very impatient. Do you know what I mean? So if I were summarizing a movie for her, I'm going to give her the very short version because I know her. Do you know what I mean? But if it's for a class, hopefully the teacher is very clear. I want a paragraph. I want 200 words. I want 300 words, right? Yeah. Sudaba, I see your hand.
Yeah. Can we say that the paraphrasing of a text is like the translation of a text, that the translator should translate it all the text word by word in his or her own speech or her own language.
I love it.
Can we see say it like that?
I think that's helpful, especially for you guys, especially for multilingual students, right? And we read through those 2 chapters. If I'll say this, that makes sense to me. So there's a lot of different ways people like to paraphrase. So if that sort of image of translation works for you, I think that totally makes sense to me, Sudeba. Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's your job. If well, at least what Edith Grossman argues in the book that we read, right? The 2 chapters that you read or skimmed. Edith Grossman argues, it's not word for word is not the best. The most important thing is the meaning. Can you convey the meaning? Can you explain what the author was trying to say? And that's true for paraphrasing too, right? We're gonna look at some examples here in a minute, but I love that. I love that, Sudeba. Yeah, that works.
But what is the differences? Can you show me the differences? The big difference
Between what? Translation?
Okay, for the summary, we will have like the main ideas.
Yes. Let's do it. Let's do it. I have stuff to practice this today. So I think Button was asking, like, can we see some real examples? Before we look at the examples, though, are there any just sort of general? Let me go back to the slides here. Any general questions about what a paraphrase is and how it's different than a summary? Any questions about these definitions before we go to practice? Yeah, Ibrahim.
For paraphrasing, if we change the structure for the sentence, like if we change an active sentence to the passive sentence, that will be good for the. I mean,
yeah,
it's enough for that for the paraphrasing.
I love that. I think I'll say this: don't take every active sentence, make it passive, and call it a paraphrase. But as one way to create different sentence structure, excuse me, one way to write an effective paraphrase absolutely could be active and passive voice, thinking about active and passive voice. I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great.
Also, Professor, we can change the part of a speech, like something's adjective to noun and...
I love that. If you want to, absolutely. So already, I mean, just amazing. This class is already absolutely amazing. Yes, so if you're thinking, how do I do this in terms of sentences, active and passive voice, word forms, right? Adjectives, nouns, changing some of those word forms and parts of speech, absolutely. Those are 2 great ways to think about how to do this. Yeah. So let's look at an example. Oh, I'll show this at the end. I'll show this at the end. Okay. Oh, I want to show you one other thing before we look at our example. So in Canvas, there is a bunch more information about this. It's labeled the Norton Field Guide PDF. And actually, I put this in 2 different places. So most of the information I'm showing you here is a summary of these pages that I posted in Canvas. But if you want to read the full, chapter from this textbook, I don't have you buy the textbook because this is the only part of it that I really like. But if you go to Canvas, actually, and if you go to, you can go 2 places, course materials or live support materials. I'm going to go to live support materials. I already put these things here in Canvas for today. So here's 311. This says paraphrasing, summarizing, and citing, and MLA formatting, which we'll get to before the end of the semester. So this, if you click this link here, it's these pages. And it's long, but not crazy long, right? It's 6 PDF pages. So these are examples all about quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing. And if you want a lot more specific details about the ideas that I'm showing you guys today, here they are. It's all in the textbook. So yours to review, download, keep forever, right here on the live support materials page, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this is at the top. When I say Norton Field Guide PDF live support materials. So this is a quote from Why Translation Matters. And this is what we're going to use today to talk about summarizing and paraphrasing. So I'm just going to read, I'll read it for you. You can read along with me, but I'll read it out loud for us too. So this quote, it comes from page 67 in the book, and it says, According to Ortega, however, the fact that they are utopian and may never be fully realized does not lessen the luminous value of our attempts to translate or communicate. Quote, human tasks are unrealizable. The destiny of man, his privilege and honor, is never to achieve what he proposes and to remain merely an intention, a living utopia. He is always marching toward failure, and even before entering the fray, he already carries a wound in his temple. In translation, the ongoing, absolutely utopian ideal is fidelity. But fidelity should never be confused with literalness. Literalism is a clumsy, unhelpful concept that radically skews and oversimplifies the complicated relationship between a translation and the original. Now, before we even start to think about summarizing or paraphrasing, we've got to start with, remember, reading strategies that we spent 2 weeks doing, main idea, right? So before you can even think about paraphrasing, you've got to make sure you can understand the main idea. So let's just talk about it. What is the main idea of this paragraph quote? And if we need to look up some vocab words here, let's do that together. So what's the main idea here? What's going on? And do we need to look up words? Let's just start there. Are there any words that you're looking at going, what is this word? I have no idea what it means. Because if yes, let's look it up together. Let's look up 4 or 5 words. Remember, if a word gets repeated more than 1 time, that's a big clue that it's a very important word. And if you don't understand that word, we should look.
Translation and communication. They're talking about language.
A comment in the chat I'm looking at. Yes, this is about translation. Rena says this is about translation. Definitely. I'd say translation is the topic, right? That's our most general level here. Well, I'll do this, right? So there's a couple words that we have twice, right? So the fact that they are utopian and maybe fully realized does not lessen the luminous value. And then we get his privilege is never what he approaches, a living utopia, right? In this quote, and I'm gonna make this smaller here. So I see utopian. We've also, yeah, do we have a third time? Where's the other one?
Yeah, it's in the absolutely Optonian or something. Idea is it's too. No, 1940 in translation, the ongoing, absolutely.
Yes, thank you. 3 times. Okay, so again, really big clue. Wow, this is an important idea. I better make sure I understand this. The other one that I wanted to be to highlight here is so we have literalness, but still literalness, literalism. Right, and we also have this word, fidelity.
Yep.
Fidelity, right? Any other words that get repeated?
Translation and translator.
Good, yeah, we got translation all over the place. So Reina pointed that out. A lot of people have said, this is definitely, what is the topic of this? This is definitely about translation. And we have 1 more, 2 more of these in translation, 3 times. The destiny of man, even before you had a wound. Great, so let's look this up. I'll start with the source since it's already open. So synonyms for utopia: paradise, heaven, Eden, bliss, heaven on earth. Let's go to Learner's Dictionary. Utopia. The definition: an imaginary place in which the government, laws, and social conditions are perfect, right? So we've got this understanding and definition: utopia, an imaginary place where everything is perfect. Synonyms for utopia are perfect, heaven, Eden, bliss. Let's go back and look at those quotes again, though. Now that we understand. Okay, so according to Ortega, however, the fact that they are utopian and may never be fully realized does not lessen the value of our attempts to translate or communicate. Okay, so I think the meaning here is, okay, let's see as well. Let's see as well. So then we have this time where she's quoting someone else. She talks about a living utopia. The living utopia is to never achieve what he proposes and remain in intention, a living utopia. Okay. And then we have in translation, the ongoing absolutely utopian ideal is fidelity. Okay. So if I'm using utopian as an adjective, someone give me a synonym. Utopian, the utopian ideal means what? Good ideal or bad ideal?
Good.
Good
Kind
idea.
of good, kind of good or really good?
Really
Really
good.
good.
Perfect.
Really good or perfect?
Perfect. They said it's perfect like a paradise. This
Yes,
is perfect.
exactly, exactly. Okay, so this utopian word has something about being perfect. Is it not perfect? Okay, okay, good. So let's also look up fidelity.
Fidelity, yeah.
that sounded like it was on the computer. That was amazing. Okay, so we've got two different definitions for fidelity, and this gets tricky. So the first one says the quality of being faithful to your husband, wife, or sexual partner. This is definitely a way to use fidelity, but hopefully you can tell we're not talking about marriage in this quote, right? We're talking about translation. So number two, if you look at number two, the degree to which something matches or copies something else, right? And here it says the movie's director insisted on total fidelity to the book. And the meaning says insisted that the story told in the movie should accurately copy the story in the book. So here she's using fidelity, excuse me, to say the perfect ideal, the perfect idea is fidelity, right? Exactly the same, a perfect copy. But fidelity should not be confused with another vocab word here, literalness. Do we know, does anyone know the meaning of literalness? Let's look it up.
You picked very difficult words, difficult vocabulary.
Well, I mean, you know, with lots of care and respect, at 325, everything you read from now on is going to have big vocab words. You guys, you really, hyperfocus isn't crazy, but there'll be a lot of vocab in there for you. Literal. And if you look here at number two, we even have a definition of this word that is exactly about translation, right?
Yes,
Giving the
exactly.
meaning of each individual word a literal translation of the book, right? So we have a little bit of a better understanding now of the vocabulary. So let's just even look at the end. Here she says, in translation, the ongoing, absolutely utopian ideal is fidelity, but fidelity should never be confused with literalism. Literalism is a clumsy, unhelpful concept. Concept is just idea that radically skews and oversimplifies the complicated relationship between a translation and the original. So I'm going to suggest to you that the main idea is here in these sentences. So now that we've looked at the words, let's just do a quick sort of summary here. What's she really saying about good translation, bad translation, fidelity, literalness? What's she saying? You can say out loud or type in the chat if that feels better. Ibrahim, go for it.
I think she want to say the a best translation is the way that you have all the information from the translation, from the original to the translate.
Yes, and okay, great. And what is the best way to do that? To go word for word or not go word for word?
No, it's about to copy the idea and do it in your own
word.
So exactly correct. That's like Sudaba asking about paraphrasing like translation. Exactly correct, right? And now even if you're still like, oh my God, Jeff, this paragraph is so hard. Yeah, it's a complicated text, right? But even in just a few minutes, even if you don't understand every single word, right? We're doing a sort of summarizing skill here now. these words of this difference between fidelity on one hand, literalness on the other hand, right? That's really what this paragraph is about, or at least that's the idea that she's talking about with this topic of translation, right? Good translation.
Hey.
Now, we're going to look at, instead of asking you to paraphrase this, I'm not going to ask you to paraphrase this. I'm going to show you 2 examples, and I want you to tell me what you think could be a good paraphrase or what could be a bad paraphrase. Okay. Let me make sure I don't show you the answer on the next slide. Hold on. I'm going to bring the screen right back. I just don't want you to see. Okay. I'm sharing again. All right, so remember, here's the original. I'll read the original one more time. The original says, according to Ortega, however, the fact that they are utopian and may never be fully realized does not lessen the luminous value of our attempts to translate or communicate. Human tasks are unrealizable. The destiny of man, his privilege and honor, is never to achieve what he proposes and to remain merely a living utopia. He is always marching toward failure, and even before entering the fray, he already carries a wound in his temple. In translation, the ongoing absolutely utopian ideal is fidelity, but fidelity should never be confused with literalness. Literalism is a clumsy, unhelpful concept that radically skews and oversimplifies the complicated relationship between a translation and the original. Okay. Here's a suggested paraphrase, and I want you to tell me, is it good, not good, why not? Here's the paraphrase. Grossman says that according to Ortega, all human communication is utopian and may not be realized. However, this does not devalue our attempts to use language to speak or translate. Ortega says that all human tasks are unrealizable and that humans can never achieve exactly what they propose. So our goals and intentions become a living utopia. So for Grossman, translation is absolutely utopian and the goal is always fidelity. But she argues that fidelity should never be confused with literalness. Literalism is an unhelpful concept that oversimplifies the complicated relationship between a translation and the original. Good paraphrase, bad paraphrase. What do we think?
Good.
Good.
But it's belong to Grossman.
What do we think? What do we think?
Not the ESL student.
I know ESL students are like, oh, this is good because it looks exactly like the first one. Susanna, I see you shaking your head. Do you think it's a bad paraphrase?
It does not sound like paraphrasing.
Yeah, what does it sound like?
I don't know.
Sounds like another idea.
Okay. I think it sounds almost exactly like the original, right? Like if you look at it, let's look at sentence for sentence. We won't do the whole paragraph. I can feel people's eyes getting heavy and sleepy. I'll let you practice in a second here with a less complicated text, but let's just look sentence for sentence, right? According to Ortega, however, the fact that they are utopian may never be fully realized does not lessen the luminous value of our attempts to translate or communicate. Grossman says that, according to Ortega, all human communication is utopian and may not be realized. And then in this quote we have where she gives the Ortega quote here. However, this does not devalue our attempts to use languages to speak or translate, right? Really, what I'm trying to show you on this slide, hold on, I see Samira says good paraphrasing. This is bad paraphrasing, actually. And let me ask you this, and I'll show you why, and I'll show you an example of a good paraphrase in a second here, but did this paragraph, did this paragraph make these ideas easier to understand for you guys, or did it still feel hard?
That is right.
And so that's what I'm saying, right? So on this slide here, right, where I say a paraphrasing is like that soup that condenses, or I'm sorry, a summary is like the soup that condenses, but a paraphrase clarifies things, right? The reason that we put things in our own words, the reason that we change the sentence structure is to make it easier to understand, right? This paragraph is still really, really complicated, right? And notice also, I don't want you to go to a thesaurus and just change words like we saw in the video for people who watched the YouTube. But this example does not change those words, right? Fidelity, fidelity. Literalness, literalness. Utopian, utopian, right? So this is an example. And if you have time and you can, go back and look at these slides in more detail on your own, right? If you look at them side by side, hard to do in Canvas, easier to do if I could print paper in a classroom and give it to you, you will see that it's basically just like word for word copying from the original into a paraphrase. And that's not a good example. So as I say here, this is an unsuccessful paraphrase, right? The sentence structure is way too similar to the original. Much of the vocabulary remains unchanged, and there's no additional commentary or insight offered by the writer, right? So in a paraphrase, you're not giving your opinion, but you are putting things in a way that is supposed to make the text easier to understand for your reader. Let's look at an example, and hopefully you'll agree that this is better. Maybe not, let's see. So here's my example of a more successful paraphrase, right? So importantly, Grossman argues that the goals of good translation are utopian. She cites Spanish philosopher Jose Ortega y Gasset, who theorized that all human beings' goals are impossible to realize, and that they are therefore constantly failing to create the utopia they imagine in their minds. However, Grossman does not see this failure as a problem. Instead, she affirms that the goal of translation is utopian, that is, total faithfulness to the original text. She then distinguishes between faithfulness and literalness by once again arguing that trying to literally translate word for word erases the utopian complexity and linguistic expression and richness of linguistic expression. Now, this is still a complicated paragraph, you guys, right? There's still some really big and complicated ideas in this paragraph. But I'll ask you guys, hopefully, does this paragraph feel a little bit easier to understand for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I heard a few people say yes, and I will tell you why. I hope. The reason why is you see things like words like importantly in the first sentence, right? However, in the third sentence, right? And you also see the author, it was me, this was my example. You see the author of this paraphrase uses the name of the author of the text that they're summarizing, right? So it's not like that when you start to write paraphrases, right? I don't want you to imagine that you are the person who wrote the original, right? It's your job to tell me, I'm the reader for you for this class, for you to tell me what the author of the thing you're paraphrasing did, right? So instead of just saying what the other person said, which is important, you're also explaining what the author did, right? And just to show you another example of a sentence where I tried to do that is, she then distinguishes between faithfulness and literalness. So Grossman in the original, right? Grossman doesn't say, hey, everybody, hey, Leila, in this sentence, I'm going to show you the difference between faithfulness and literalness. She doesn't say, I'm going to do that, right? But when you write your paraphrase, you get to say, hey, when Grossman says this, this is what she means. This is what she's trying to do. This is what she wants the reader to understand, right? So that's that way that you're clarifying, like I said on this slide, right? Clarify, you're clarifying this for your reader. And again, in this case, remember, when I say reader of a paraphrase, I'm talking about me in this class, right? I'm your reader, right? So when I say clarify, those sentences that I have for you here, right, where it's then Grossman does this, or Grossman says this so that she can argue, or Grossman does this to show, to argue, to explain. Those are examples of sentence structure. So like Ibrahim was saying, changing active to passive, that's one way. Mahbouba was saying word forms, parts of speech, absolutely that's one way. But another really important way to change the structure of your own sentences is to add these sort of phrases where you say, the author argues, right? The author claimed, the author explained. And that's a way for you to show the reader, hey, I understood what I read. I know what the author of the original text was doing, and I can explain that to you with my paraphrase, right? As I say here in these green bullet points, right? Sentence structure and order is very different. Synonyms have been used to replace vocabulary from the original, except notice in that first sentence where I kept utopian the same, but I even just put one word in quotation marks, right? Now, after spring break, maybe next week, I don't know, we'll see how fast we can go. I'm gonna teach you guys MLA formatting, right? So how to cite something, how to put things in quotes. Here I kept utopian the same, but I put it in quotes just to show, hey, this was the word that she used, right? But I'm going to use the same word here, right? And then finally, it says, the writer emphasizes the main idea through synthesis and making connections. Reina says in the chat, I think to paraphrase in a very good way, we need to use a synonym dictionary. It will help. It will help. But remember, go back and watch the video where there's the American woman and the British man, right? And they're saying, don't just choose one word, find a synonym and put the synonym in, because then you'll get it, you'll get this, right? This is kind of an example of just finding synonyms for each word. Keep the sentence the same, put in synonyms. That's what this is, and it's still really complicated, right? It's still really hard to read and to understand. In this one, your job as the author of the person writing the paraphrase is to make sure you show the reader, okay, not only did I understand the meaning of the words, and I can give you a synonym, I understood what the author was trying to communicate. I understood why the author put the sentences in that order, and I can explain it to you, right? Does that make sense?
Very hard.
I agree, Nadia. It is very hard, and it's especially hard when you have complex academic reading and writing. And I'll tell you right now, this PDF that I put in Canvas, I strongly suggest for you guys to read it, right? But what you see is, it's why I don't make you guys buy this textbook. One thing is money, but the second thing is, textbooks are already very difficult to understand, right? Like, it's really hard to paraphrase something that's already written in a really, really academic way, right? So I want to show you this using academic texts, but starting next week, we're going to start to paraphrase using articles, right? Instead, online articles. Instead of using stories or research studies or things from textbooks, we start with language that's a little bit easier to understand, and that's what we're going to do here before we finish up for class. Angela, I see your little blue hand. What's up?
Yeah, my question is, as you said, we have to paraphrase at the beginning of the class word by word, right? But in here at the successful paraphrasing, I see there's the paragraph is shorter than the original one. We have to do like word by word, or we have we like paraphrasing each word, or just the main idea. I because some things in here is, it's like cut out, like, or maybe the different word.
Yeah, I'd say this, it is not word for word. And if you're still thinking, okay, I don't know where to start, at least start with, remember, we're learning a new skill. You're not going to go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in day one, okay? So it's not my expectation that you are perfect at this. So what I'm saying is, instead of thinking word for word, I strongly encourage you to think sentence for sentence, right? So even if you have some sentences that use a similar structure, okay, we can work with that, right? But what we don't want is, like I said, maybe, can I see just thumbs? Can you give me thumbs up? Who had time to watch the video? Was anybody able to watch the video?
Yeah.
A few people. Okay, you know what? Okay, a few people did. Okay, so do you remember that part where she shows what it's like to use the thesaurus and why it's not a good idea to do it? It's only a few minutes. I'm gonna play you that, because to answer that great question, Angela, I want to show you why not to do that. But I'm not gonna play the whole 15-minute video. No paraphrase is better than bad paraphrase. We have to read it again and again and understand it well. It'll help. It might not be easy to paraphrase, but it will help if you read it multiple times. Let me make sure I'm sharing the sound. So again, even if you watch this once, I think the reason I choose this video every semester really is because this is such a good example, you guys. It's such a good example of what students start to do what students do when they start to paraphrase. And why I think it's better to think about sentence for sentence instead of word for word. So let me just show you that, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll have time to practice a little bit.
Here's how a lot of students approach paraphrasing. See if this looks familiar to you. Robots, computers, and machines are becoming more advanced and can perform many jobs which used to be done by people. What problems does this cause, and how can these problems be solved? So let's practice bad paraphrasing.
I want to make sure before we look at this example, do we all understand? This is a much easier to understand mini paragraph than the one we just did, right? Are you with me? Any vocab, I want to make sure that we understand any vocab that I can help or explain from this sentence for you guys. I'm pretty basic, right? So remember, I'm pretty basic. So I'm just saying that to say, it's not just about how hard the original reading is, you guys, right? So yes, the quote that I showed you from my translation is a dense quote, but you can still have a bad paraphrase of something that's pretty easy to understand in the original form, okay? So that's all I want to say. We'll keep going.
Let's see now, we need to change the words. Let's find some synonyms. Robot equals automaton, advanced equals cutting edge, machine equals apparatus, job equals assignment, people equals folks.
Wow, great synonyms, right? Let's plug them into our sentence to create a bad paraphrase. Automata, computers, and apparatus are becoming more cutting edge and can perform many assignments which used to be done by folks. Let's change a couple of small things so it's not so close to the original. Automata, computers, and apparatus are more and more cutting edge and can do many assignments which were done by folks in the past. Finished. What a great paraphrase.
No. This is terrible, and it will only hurt your IELTS score. Don't do this. This is what many IELTS students do, but it's a bad idea. Let's see why this doesn't work. First, a question. What's a synonym?
You probably said something like, a word with the same meaning as another word. That's more or less true. However, a true synonym is a word which can replace another word in any sentence. So imagine you have two words, A and B. If word A can be replaced with word B in any sentence, they're synonyms. If word A can be replaced with word B sometimes, but not always, they're not true synonyms. Maybe they have a similar meaning, but they aren't the same. What's the point of all this?
The point is that there are very few true synonyms in English, or any language. Just because two words have the same meaning does not mean that they can be used in the same way. The words people and folks have the same basic meaning, but that doesn't mean that you can say folks anytime you say people. They aren't true synonyms.
I love this video and I love his British accent. Does this make sense?
British accent.
Yeah.
Makes sense when you watch it, or do we have any questions about this? And I forget if he keeps going, because I found this video a while ago, but I love that example of people and folks, right? Because if I say how many people are in class today, great. If I said how many folks are in class today, Americans, I don't know about you guys, but if I said that and another American heard me, they go like, what are you talking about? Like, why didn't you just say people? Like, what are you doing, right? So that's why, to answer Angela's great question, I'd say instead of thinking word for word, start with sentence for sentence, okay? So And then it gets a little more magical and a little more artistic when you start to combine sentences or break sentences apart. Okay, that's fine. But if you're still really scared and you're going, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Okay, that's totally appropriate. That's totally fine. But when you start with this, do not start word for word. Just start one sentence at a time and go, do I understand the meaning of the sentence? How could I explain it in a different way? And do that with each sentence in the paragraph. That will be a better start than just wasting your time looking up synonyms for every noun in every sentence. That will be painful for you to do, painful for me to read. That will not be a good use of your time. Other questions? I've got to, like I said, I do want to make sure we look at our easier example before we get out of here. Other questions?
Oh, it's
Okay, let's practice.
Yeah.
I've got a paragraph for you.
All the students are confusing.
Yes, you should be confused, right? Anytime you're learning something you've never done before, confusion is natural. You have no choice. You must be confused. Okay, some of you may have already done this on the paraphrasing activity. Go ahead, Mahbuba, please.
Could you skip the paraphrasing?
No. I can, but then you'll be really mad at me when you go to English 300 and you're like, oh my God, Jeff didn't teach me how to do this thing I need to do. That'd be a bummer. That'd be sad. You can skip it. I can't.
No, because I lose my score, my points.
No. Well, again, for me at least, remember, I don't care. I'll give you the A. If you do what I ask you to do, I'll give you the A. I don't care. Yes. But other teachers are different. That's why you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. So let's look at this. And so we have 20 minutes. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you 10 minutes just by yourself. I want to do 10 minutes to just work by yourself. If you did this already for the lesson, you can go back and review, or you can just take a 10-minute break. That's totally fine, whatever you want to do. But I want to give you guys 10 minutes. This is the paragraph that I ask you to practice, and more reason to look at this when we start to read these type of articles next week. That will get us ready for hyperfocus when we come back from the break. This is from one of those articles, okay? So what I want you to do, 10 minutes, and
you can paraphrase.
Exactly right. Try your best to paraphrase this paragraph, sentence for sentence. And you know what? Let's do the first one of this, the first sentence together as an example, just to make sure that we don't do automaton for robot and all of that kind of stuff.
Can we start like saying according to author?
Yes, and now you're getting ready for next week, Susanna, but that's absolutely correct. So when we start to talk about citation and MLA formatting, very common to start a paragraph with, according to the author's name here is Cherry, whatever. But you don't even need to worry about that for today, right? So Susanna, if you want to start that way, go ahead. If you're not ready to do that today, don't worry about it. Okay, so let's read the first sentence together and make sure we understand. So apps, phones, and Wi-Fi have most recently Zoom and House Party have made our lives infinitely easier. This author should come to my grammar class. There needs to be a comma here, comma, and I'm a big fan of a bit of digital delegation to help me out of a life admin hole. Thank you, Monday.com. Do we need to look up any words? Do we need to look up the meaning of any words? I see one that we might need.
I don't get the last part. So we
Good.
have out of a life admin hole.
Good. And do we all know what delegation means?
Delegation. That's my question.
I agree. And again, you'll notice why I think I think a thesaurus is great, you guys. But remember, what do I do every single week we have Zoom? I go to a dictionary because I think it's harder to use than a thesaurus, but it's much more useful. Okay, delegation. A group of people chosen to vote or act for someone else. That doesn't really sound like our meaning, does it? Delegation of diplomats? No, okay. Let's see, delegation, the act of giving control, authority, a job to another person. Okay, delegation of responsibilities. This is also like Mahbuba was saying about word forms. Now, this is hard for all of you guys, but I'm happy to show you. Delegation, T-I-O-N, noun form of the verb delegate, If we look up the verb delegate, this means to give to someone or to trust someone with a job or to choose to do something and be delegated. And this is the example, the way she means it in the article. A manager should delegate authority to the best employees. That means imagine your boss, right? The boss doesn't do all the work. Sometimes he delegates, he tells, okay, you do this, she'll do that. Those two people will do that. They delegate the responsibility. Or the chores can be delegated to someone else. Okay, again, think of your kids. All right, you're gonna sweep, you're gonna do the dishes, you're delegating who does what, right?
Mhm.
So if we look at that in the context of this sentence, we can even just look at the clause. I'm a big fan of a bit of digital delegation to help me out of a life administration hole. A life administration hole. This word you guys have probably seen before. What does administer or administration mean usually? Or should we look it up?
Like boss?
Oh, good. Admin means boss. That's right. That's good.
Yeah.
We'll look it up too since we're here. I'm going to check the chat. I see someone just typed. Give me 1 second. Administer or administration, to manage the operation of something or the use of property. So a cost-saving measure, voters have elected to have the two towns administered jointly, right? She's been hired to administer the funds, to manage the operation of something. So in this, if she's talking about life administration, what is she probably talking about there? How do I administer my life? What does that mean? Give me a synonym.
Like life management?
Ah, life management. I love it. I love it. Did anyone else have another synonym that came into their mind? I have one that I'll share with it in a second. When I think about administration, I also think of organization, right? How do I organize things? So apps, phones, and Wi-Fi, and most recently Zoom and House Party, have made our lives infinitely easier. And I'm a big fan of digital delegation to help me out of a life administration hole. So what's the meaning of this sentence? What's she saying?
Can I talk?
Please.
Yeah, I think she wanna say, so everything, the app, the phone, the Wi-Fi, and everything do their job in their own way, and or maybe in my way that I wanna tell him, hey, app, wake me up in the morning. Hey, phone, call my friend, or they help me to organize my life.
Good. I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's make me poor. More poorly.
It makes you what?
More important.
Made me poor. My mind not work.
Good. Okay, good. Nadia was saying it makes my mind poor. It makes my mind not work. Nadia is already getting to the main idea of the whole paragraph, right? Absolutely. But remember, paraphrasing, like I said, let's start with sentence for sentence, right? So Ibrahim is exactly correct. New technology, and here she says apps, Wi-Fi, phones, we get all these specific examples, have made our lives infinitely easier. And I'm a big fan of a bit of digital delegation to help me out of my life administration hole. So she says, let's do even Susanna's example. According to Cherry, or we could say, according to the author, I'm going to teach you how to do this next week. According to the author, hi, Diosito. According to the author, new technology like apps and Wi-Fi help people organize their lives. And someone give me another way to say is a big fan of. What does that mean? She likes or doesn't like?
Likes. Love it.
Likes.
Yeah, good. And she loves, and then tell us, let's go back to the thing here. And I'm a big fan of, so she says, of digital delegation to help me out of a life administration hole. So what does she love? What is she saying there?
I think she loves to be boss and tell all the apps and like phone and everything, hey, do this for me, please.
Cool. I love that. Anybody else? I heard a few other voices. Great idea. I love that. Rafi's talking about makes my life easier. Absolutely. Good. Did we talk about that? Ooh, I love Rafi. I'm going to use that idea. Ibrahim, that was great, but we'll go with Rafi's for the second clause. So new technology like apps and Wi-Fi help people organize their lives. And she loves using this technology to make her life easier. And even we could say life admin. So is she talking about her personal life? Is she talking about her professional life? Well, maybe we don't know in this sentence, right? But again, I heard a voice. Did anybody want to add something? Cool. So according to the author, new technology like apps and Wi-Fi help people organize their lives, and she loves using this technology to make her life easier. Apps, phones, and Wi-Fi, and most recently Zoom and House Party have made our lives infinitely easier, and I'm a big fan of a bit of digital delegation to help me out of a life admin hole. Thank you, Monday.com. Did we miss anything here?
Citation?
Now, Rafi, wait for next week. Because we did a paraphrase, we don't need to cite this yet. Not yet. Don't worry. We're going there. But is the meaning here the same? Even though we didn't say Zoom, house party, we didn't use those exact same words of the example technology. But is the meaning here the same? I think so. Hopefully you agree. If not, by next week, you'll feel much better.
Get the citation part.
We'll talk about it next week.
Okay.
Yeah, MLA citation, or if not next week, because we need to go slow for paraphrasing, before we end this semester, Susanna, do not worry. You will understand MLA citation for paraphrasing and for full quotes, okay?
Okay.
Great. How about this? Because we've only got 10 minutes. I want you guys to paraphrase this second sentence, just this second sentence. And when you're done, type it in the chat, and then we'll look at some examples. So paraphrase just that second sentence, type it in the chat, and we'll look at some of your examples. I'll give you guys 5 minutes. So whatever you can do in 5 minutes is good enough for me. This is what Nadia was getting us ready for when she was talking about it makes us poor, mentally poor. I'm gonna take another maybe 1 or 2 minutes just for time. Whatever you can get done is great. If you have a sentence, just put it in the chat. I want to look at some examples together, and then when we meet next week, the entire time we're going to practice paraphrasing together. Oh, wow, it took the whole slide. I did not think it would do that. Great. Sudhaba, I see your hand. What's up? You got a sentence?
Yes, I want to say the paraphrasing of the second sentence.
Let's do it.
Okay. I write that using of the technology reduce the activity of the human brain.
Cool. Anybody else they want to say or type in the chat for me?
So I have also one that I don't know is correct or no.
Let's find out.
I say like, however, if we want to solve a problem through technology, it sometimes causes laziness.
Great. And I see there's people in the chat. Let me take a look.
I have.
You got one you want to read, or you? Yeah, go ahead. Read for me. I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Nadia.
But often if we want to solve one issue, our technology create another that makes our brain lazy.
Can you say one more time? But often, if we want to solve, what were those words?
So issue, ISSUE.
Issues, yeah.
Issues.
If we want to solve issues, technology creates our technology.
Create
yeah.
Another.
Let's say again.
Create created another.
Spell for me.
Another. ANOTHER.
Oh, I got it. Thank you. Excuse me. I'm sorry that I couldn't hear you. Another.
Yeah. I am.
Another what? Another something? Another what?
Another.
Another problem.
Another issue. Another problem.
Oh, another issue. Another issue. Got it.
But not to another.
Oh, I like fatness.
That makes another.
Ooh, Rafi's is great too. Another. I hear you too, Nadia. Hold on. Disadvantage of technology. Got it. Okay. So we've got so many good options, but it made me more lazy.
Another
problem, whatever. We could use a different synonym. Covers one of the negative. Ooh, yeah, Fatma. Oh, really interesting. In the sentence Fatma just put in the chat, it covers one of the negative effects that technology can cause. That is exactly what this sentence does, right? That's not really the meaning of the sentence, but if you understand what the author is doing with each sentence, you're exactly correct, Fatma. This sentence, the first sentence, she says, ooh, technology really helps me to be more organized and it helps me plan my life. That's the first sentence. But, however, there are these other challenges. So let's read some examples. Using technology reduces the activity of the human brain. I love this. To me, this feels a little bit more like a summary. This doesn't feel as much like a synthesis. However, if we want to solve a problem through technology, it sometimes causes laziness. Great. And I'll tell you one reason that this is important. So for my students who used however, or but, or even, I think it should be even though, or even if. For my students who used, where you went word for word, but you included one of these contrast words, one of these linking words, one of these conjunctions, transition words, however you've called it in another class, this is really important because like Fatma just said in the chat, right? It's not just the exact meaning of the sentence that's important, but it's also trying to make sure that we paraphrase the entire thing that we're looking at. And this idea of, oh, technology is really great, but, right, that is definitely what the author's trying to do here at the beginning of this paragraph, right? It helps me organize my life, but, however, using new technology is useful, helpful, but it can cause that we use our brain good. It can cause us, this is just grammar stuff, to use our brain less than before. Really nice. But often, comma, if we want to solve issues, comma, our technology creates another problem.
Oh, solve one issue. One issue.
Even though my life became easier, but it made me more lazy. Two people are doing this, by the way. You have however, and then you have but later in the sentence. You don't need that. You already have your contrast word here, your subordinator. This is a conjunction, really. You have already this linking word, this transition word, this subordinator. So you don't need to use it twice. However, using new technology is helpful. Oh, and it should be this. This is more grammar stuff. So again, it's hard. Another reason that teaching paraphrasing is hard is it's not a grammar skill, but your sentence structure is important. Using new technology is helpful. However, it can cause. Someone else did this in the sentence. I've got yours. I'm going to add it to the list. Even though my life became easier, comma, it made me more lazy. So we don't need even though and but. We don't need the contrast conjunction. We don't need that twice in the same sentence. Good. And Samira, where's yours? Nonetheless, in an attempt to resolve one difficulty, our dependence on tech seems to have built another. It could be giving us brain lazy. Ooh, Samira, very nice. In an attempt to resolve one difficulty. Wow, really nice. Our dependence on tech seems to have built another. Good. Built, created, made. I like that. Built, created, made another. It could be giving us brain lazy. Good. And we can talk about this more next week because we are here at the end of class. But some things in the thing you're paraphrasing, sometimes it's important to keep the same words, right? Like brain lazy, we're going to find out when we read this article, is a really important idea in the whole article. So maybe you keep that same phrase, but you put it in quotations, right? Just quotation marks. And then again, let me teach you how to cite that properly. But yeah, just like I put utopian in quotation marks in the slides in the PowerPoint, sometimes you do kind of have to keep one or two words because they're such important keywords. Cool. Well, I will talk much more about this next week. And again, what do I want to say? If you're scared and you hate paraphrasing, I have bad news. We're doing it for the rest of the semester. But the good news is, hopefully, you will never be more confused than you are today, right? This will be the most confusing it ever is because as we keep practicing, you'll feel more comfortable and you'll feel better. But it's such an important skill. It's really what, at college level writing, it's what you're being asked to do every day, every class, is read something, explain it in your own words, not just the main idea, but all the other details too, right? So it's difficult, but it's such an important and valuable skill. So, you know me already, I'm fine to go slow. It's more important to me that you understand this than that we, practice it 300 times. We can go as slow as you need, but I'd suggest be kind to yourself, go slow, because we got to keep doing it. Sorry, Mahoba. Any questions before we end class?
No, more questions.
No questions. Let us out of here.
No, more.
Oh yeah.
More questions.
Only questions. Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. So like I said, if you haven't done lesson 12, the paraphrasing activity, go ahead and give it a shot. If you haven't watched those videos, watch those videos. If you have already done that, if you are already done with lesson 12 and you're thinking, I want to keep going, go to today's live support materials page and read this, right? This will give you lots more details and specific information about paraphrasing, summarizing, and quoting, right? So if you're thinking about citation and quoting, this is a great place to start before we keep going. So I don't have anything new to say. I have homework. This time I'm not giving you guys homework. I have homework, which is to finish grading all of your essays. My dream, I think it's very likely, very possible that when I see you guys next week, I will be done. So we can talk about that next week. But I'm giving myself homework, not you guys. If you don't have questions, goodbye. You're wonderful. I'll see you later. If you need anything, I can stay around for Fatma saying, did I cover lesson 12? Anyway, bye. If you don't have questions, get out of here.
I have a question one on
Bye,
one.
Did I cover that? I sort of just showed you and said, this is the skill we're practicing. But if you're looking at lesson 12 and you're still like, I don't know, wait, and we can look at it more next week. Yep.
Thank you. Have a
Hey,
good
everybody.
day.
Thank you, Sadaf. See you later. I'm going to stop the recording just in case, so people have questions. They can stay. Bye, Fatma. Bye, Mir. You have a good day.
Professor. Bye.
See you.
Oh, Professor, I have